So in the aftermath of the Khamzat Gilbert Burns fight, I wanted to do my initial reaction straight away. But I was on vacation and shooting it on the phone just wasn't cool. So I said I'd wait until today. I'm back home, gonna shoot the video now. Do me a favor before we get into it, before we break down the fact that I think that the wheels have come off the hype train, do me a favor and hit subscribe if you can. Hate asking because it messes with the energy at the beginning of the video, but I think it's important because most of the people that are watching the video aren't subscribed. So if you could do it, I'd really appreciate it. Cheers. So the fight happened, the most anticipated fight of the night. Volkanovski and the Korean zombie, Aljamain Sterling, Petr Yan. Absolutely no interest in any of them. Everyone in Florida was there to watch this fight, and the majority of them people were there to cheer on Khamzat. And I thought that it was insane. The atmosphere was unbelievable. And I want to preface this by saying that I'm a huge Khamzat fan. I think that his presence is unbelievable. Actually, since Darren Till went and trained with him, and then we see the YouTube behind the scenes footage that's coming out every day, it's just made me like him even more. He seems like a really cool dude. So what I mean by the hype train has come to a halt is the fact that people were being outlandish about this fighter. Absolutely crazy takes from Brendan Schaub, Chael Sonnen, Michael Bisping, all these guys, John McCarthy, they were all going off their head on the hype. They just bought into it way too much. Now, it was understandable. You can definitely buy into the hype, but in the same breath, once I see that corrupt media bias really jumping on the bandwagon of something, I start pushing back against it. And I didn't like the fact that going into this fight, I wanted Gilbert Burns to win just to show that these guys were so off with their take. But you know what? Gilbert Burns didn't win, Khamzat won. But I think the fact that their takes look even worse now, because Brendan Schaub was talking about Khamzat running through 3 or 4 divisions without anyone touching him, except for Israel Adesanya. And going on that fight the other night, the way he tried to stand up with Gilbert Burns, if he tried to stand up with Adesanya like that, holy shit, it would be an annihilation. I don't know why Khamzat tried to stay on the feet. Yes, he's got good hands. Yes, he's got great tenacity. But a lot of the time he was rushing forward, almost tripping over himself and falling into the right hand of Gilbert Burns. And that doesn't take anything away from Gilbert Burns. I have much respect for him. Gave him a little bit of a hard time in the last video when I said he had a glass jaw, but his jaw isn't the best. And we saw that when Khamzat dropped him with a jab. But man, did he show a heart. He got back up and he fought. He wanted to prove a point, and he definitely proved a point to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people, because if he gets you with that right hand, if he gets you with that powerhouse haymaker, you're fucked. And he dropped Khamzat at least twice, maybe 3 times. But because of Khamzat's tenacity, it wasn't a clean drop. If it was anyone else, they're out. I think that Khamzat's game plan was a little bit just erratic. I thought that he should have stuck with the wrestling. I thought he should have went for it. But I did think that Gilbert Burns had the advantage when it got to the ground, just in terms of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the outcome was. I kind of hate myself for feeling that I wanted Khamzat to lose just to prove a point to these ex-fighters who are expertise in bias and corrupt media coverage. I just wanted that to happen. And in the aftermath of what did actually happen, I think it looks even worse for them. Because what do we know now? I think we are left with more questions than answers after this fight. Even though some big content creators and some small ones are still on the hype train. I've heard people saying that this was a dominant performance from Khamzat, that now we know exactly what he's about. And yes, you should believe the hype. And yes, he is for real. I didn't get that from this fight. I didn't get that at all. I get the fact that he's got a heart of steel. He's got a great chin. He loves to come forward. But he looked tired. He looked very tired to me. In that second round, he was almost out of there. I think that when he got into the corner and his coach really gave it to him, I see him screaming in his face. I was like, yeah, he came out and he turned it up a notch. And that is admirable. And that's something that you can look at and go, holy shit, this guy can fight. But he looked tired. He wasn't indestructible. And Gilbert Burns almost had him. And if it went to the scorecards, I would love to see the actual scorecards and how the people were actually marking them up. Because, I mean, they got it wrong in the Aljamain Sterling fight. 100% wrong. He did not win that fight. He did not win that fight 100%. So the same people scored this card, because when that bell rang, first of all, I was clapping, I was applauding, I was on my feet. I was like, holy shit, this is the best fight since Gaethje and Chandler. This was unbelievable. But in the same breath, I felt that it could go either way. And I was kind of thinking that it would go to Gilbert Burns, because in that last round, yes, Khamzat came forward. Yes, he threw hands. Yes, he looked technically better. And Gilbert Burns was tanked and he was falling back onto the fence. But there was moments in the round where he kept coming forward. He threw 3 right hands. Every single one of them landed. Every single one of them pushed Khamzat's head backwards. And every single one of them must have hurt it. And there were points on the scorecard. And I don't know how they scored it. But I kind of felt that the UFC were just not going to be the ones to say, listen, the hype train's ending tonight. Too much invested. And in the aftermath, we saw that again from Dana, really like trying to pump the hype train, saying that if you don't think that this guy is the real deal after 1 or 2 fights, then coming up beating the number 2 guy. For Gilbert Burns to be the number 2 guy doesn't say a lot for the welterweight, and I'm not being disrespectful, but it just doesn't, because beating an aging Wonder Boy is no great achievement. Don't get me wrong, great fighter, love Wonder Boy as well, great guy. You know, when the division is filled with people like Leon Edwards and Masvidal and Gilbert Burns, not exactly the top tier. And I see people pushing this on Colby, saying, why are you calling out Dustin? Why are you not calling out like a contender in the welterweight division? Because they're all bums, really. So that then brings us to the next fight, which is, Dana said it the other day, the winner of this fight gets to fight Colbe Covington. Does Khamzat beat Colbe Covington on this performance? Absolutely not. This week he talked about Colby getting sucker punched and was like, did you really expect that not to happen when you talk about someone's wife and kids? Well, that didn't actually happen, Dana. Leave it go, bro. You sound fucking ridiculous. I 100% do not condone violence, but did you really expect it not to happen? Yeah, I expect not to get jumped from behind after I talk shit in the build-up to a big UFC fight, like 99.9% of fights. And then to quote Dana, these fucking goofy dudes need to learn not to talk shit and learn the man code. Goofy dudes? What the fuck is that? What does that mean? So I guess the punishment for goofy dudes is to fight Khamzat? Well, man, I'm ready to see that fight. I'm ready to see the gas tank on Colbe Covington. I'm ready to see him stuff the takedowns of Khamzat. I'm ready to see him stand up, go toe to toe and put everything on the line, because I do not think it'll work out well for Khamzat in that fight. And you are absolutely crazy to think that it does. I don't think it works out well for Khamzat against Kamaru Usman. I don't think it works out well for Khamzat against any one of these killers in the top 10, as Dana calls them. Someone that can manage distance, speed, timing, and really stick to a game plan and be very technical in their form of fighting, I think beats the tenacity and the overzealous hype that Khamzat has. Don't get me wrong, I could be proven wrong. He could go on to be the champion, he could go on to dominate the division and every other division, like Brendan Schaub said. But I think that we have seen chinks in the armor the other night. I think that we do now know, like Ivan Drago, that he's not a machine, he's a man. And I think that he can be hurt. I think that he can be hit. I think that he gets tired. And yes, he's only human, but it was the MMA community, driven by Dana and Chael and Brendan Schaub, that are pushing this guy to be some sort of Robocop that he isn't. And I think so many people buy into that sort of commentary, but not me. I'm really interested to see where it goes from here. If Khamzat goes on to be the champion, I'll be over the moon. I'll be very happy. Love the guy. I think he's awesome. I think in the aftermath of the fight, the respect that he showed to Gilbert Burns was admirable. I love that. Some people think it's too much. I think it was absolutely perfect. They talked shit, they got up in each other's face, they fought, they battled, and in the end, there was nothing but respect. And I like that. I think that's the way things should be done. But with all that being said, let's see where we go from here. Does Khamzat beat Colby? Does he beat Usman? Does he get beaten by Colby? Does he get beaten by the next contenders? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do me a favor, hit subscribe if you can. I appreciate it. Cheers.